Leafs are hot. Oilers are cold. Twitter's on fire.
You guys are on.
Game on. Grab the Nats sticks in the middle. Welcome to a special edition of Straight Off the Pipe. This time, the Maple Leafs post show edition. The temperature in Edmonton is minus 97 with the wind chill, and the Oilers were minus 97 in Toronto tonight. On my right wing, I've got Mike, the mega thread Dursa, my co-host as always, and on left wing, I'm pleasure to say we've got the heavy hockey head honcho, Michael Hubert here. Boys, we had something familiar tonight. The Oilers fall 3-2 to the Leafs. They fall to 0-3-2 on the road trip. They've won 2 of their last 13. We've given up the first goal in 24 of 34. We've also given up that same tally in 21 of 20, the last 25. The PK failed again. The power play was over. We got out hit. We got out face offed. We got outshot. We got outworked in the board battles. And yet, despite all that, it kind of felt like the Oilers deserved to win that game. What do you think, Durs?
I think that was actually a pretty good effort tonight. I think they bring that kind of game night in, night out, and they're going to be okay. Mike Smith still looks a little bit rusty from the layoff to me, but
Yeah,
he wasn't bad. I just think the goalie at the
Yeah.
other end was a little bit better, and really I think that was the difference of the game. They did play a better hockey game, and that to me was a bit of an encouraging sign. You kind of go into that, no McDavid, no Barry, no Nuge, and Derek Ryan, I guess, deserves a mention as well. And so your lineup is kind of all over the place, new guys playing together and all that. I liked what I saw early on from McLeod and Hyman and Pugliarvi. And the Perlini gets his game a month, and he gets on the scoreboard there early to get them back in the game. And they take a lead again. Once again, they kind of give it up, and late 10 minutes to go in the third, there's another power play goal behind the net. I didn't like the first goal really from Smith or the third goal, but the bulk of the game, I thought he played pretty well, and he gave him a chance. Just didn't happen. So now you got some days off here and a schedule that's going to be all wonky for a while. So a lot of time to think about, the last stretch, which I don't know if is a good thing, but at least they can come home after a game that they dropped and know that, if they bring that game when they have McDavid, I think they're going to be all right. It's just a matter of bringing that game again.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get a win in that last game just to take that confidence into a little bit of time off as opposed to going home and losing sleep. No doubt about it. And I like what you said about the goaltending. I thought on both sides it was pretty decent tonight for sure. Campbell was better, but there was times that I thought Smith really calmed things down. It sure is nice to see him when he controls the puck behind the net, and you can see the confidence in the team when he does it. He made some nice saves towards the end of the game that kind of kept them in it until they weren't in it. And I thought the rebound control was really good on both goalies. That was something I really noticed tonight about Smith versus the last goalies was the control of the rebounds. What did you see tonight, Michael?
Well, I mean, everybody's obviously been complaining about Tippett, but I think this is the first game where he played Barry the right amount of minutes. And so, you can't say anything bad in that regard. No, look, I mean, the teams without McDavid and without Nugent Hopkins, two big players. That's, those are two very important guys on the power play. We actually got a full 2 minutes this time, which was nice. I thought they played well. I mean, look, I mean, we could use some puck luck. There's no doubt there. I think I read a tweet by Gregor that said Smith needs to be a little bit more positionally aware. I think that's nitpicking. at this point. I mean,
He did look a little scrambly, though.
he did, but you know what? I mean,
he settled in.
Yeah, and a part of me thinks that's Gregor responding to everybody calling out the media for picking on Koskinen and not Smith, right? So, anyway, either way, you know what? It's just bad luck. The second goal by Toronto. I mean, granted, again, it's a shot off of some people, but those are the kind of goals we need to get. The kind where people are driving to the net, and I thought guys stepped up tonight. Perlini, when he had the chance, he played well. Cassian wasn't even terrible tonight. I thought he played all right. Bouchard, though, I mean, that guy is a hoss. Like, give him extra minutes. And other than, some people complain about that penalty. I think is what it is. He accidentally get his stick in between the legs. It was it was a call. It was a penalty. There's no doubt there. But I thought Bouchard played a hell of a game. Good to see him out there in the final. In fact, he was the coordinator on the back end in the final minutes. And he should have kept it instead of giving it back to Dry, because we might have been able to tie it up.
Yeah, he did. He QB'd that last minute, and that was a decent decision by Tippett. You'd mentioned that Barry playing the right amount of minutes tonight was another good decision by Tippett. But when I look at the balance sheet, Turris on the power play confuses me. Cassian on the power play confused me.
You see how many Turris
man out.
How many minutes Turris had compared to Puljujarvi? He played 30 seconds less than Puljujarvi tonight.
Now, why was Cassian out instead of JP at the end of the game?
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, there is some, it's as much as I don't want to pick on Tippett, because we've done that enough lately, but damn it, I think he overplayed Draisaitl a bit tonight too, to be fair. Like I get it. You don't have McDavid, you don't have Nuge, but the guy can't do everything. Like, give him a little bit of a break, maybe on the PK or something. Like, he had him out there in every situation. You don't play really McDavid in every situation. You had him out there for every draw.
Yeah, like half of them. He commented in postgame and said, that's what happens when you don't have McDavid and Ryan in your lineup. And I understand that. The guy's desperate for a win, and he's going to lean on his best player. There's a few guarantees in life, boys. The sun sets in the west, and death and taxes, and the Oilers give up the first goal. Smitty's done it in 3 of 5 games now. Skinner did it in 7 and 9. Koskinen's done it in 14 of 20. Are we ready to give up blaming the goalies?
Not that I want to, not that I want to jump in front of a moving train for Mike Smith, but, and you're going to hate this, Dash, but at the tail end of the first shift of the game, Jesse Puljujarvi was springing on a breakaway by Duncan Keith, and he didn't cash. So he did have a chance, at least tonight, to open the scoring, but we didn't.
Yeah, Keith wasn't terrible tonight, and he was at least on the plus side of the game. And, he's making those stretch passes end to end hasn't been his, downfall. His downfall's been other things, but, let's leave the Keith conversation somewhere else, I think.
The only other thing I really saw that he did well in the first period was shortly after that, there was a shot from the point, and Big Simmons was standing in the paint and could have tipped it in, and Keith did do a good job of tying up his stick there. But after that, I started focusing on everything else. I just needed a little bit to say to you.
So that's good. You just struck me on something too. Like I'd like your opinion on not only what you thought Tippett did tonight, and if you thought he, could have changed anything or done a decent job, but you also talked about going to the net, and I was honored to be on Michael's show last night, and we talked a little bit about the Oilers' ability to go to the net and their frequency going to the net. And Michael's been tracking actually how many minutes in between there's actual physical contact with the goalie. I know they came close tonight. Did you guys see any bumps, or have we decided we need to go to the net yet?
Nothing substantial. Nothing substantial at all.
The only thing that I picked up on was Brendan Perlini going to the net once hard, and that was it.
Yeah.
And that's the one time in how many games? I don't remember the last time we actually drove the net with some sort of authority.
Yeah. Hey, there are
So
a
if
couple of comments. Just one, I think, Dash,
Beauty.
you got to hear. This is from Shannon on Facebook. Says, Dash, are you trying to
Yeah.
disguise yourself thinking I wouldn't know you? Can't hide from your number one fan, bud. And
I love it.
and our buddy Josh.
It's cold out here, man. I know it rains and out east, and you guys get this once a year, but it's been minus 97 for 3 weeks now.
That's right. We got the Nova Scotia crew. One's on YouTube. That's Josh is listening in on YouTube tonight. Thanks, Josh. It says Draisaitl played 24 minutes exactly. And then one last comment.
Dry and Nurse had the exact same amount of ice.
I can't believe I haven't said anything yet, but that's a beauty jersey there, Dursa. It's a lot like wearing my college jacket. It's kind of it's kind of sweet. No, nice jersey like that. Missed that game, I tell you. No fans in the stands and no Oilerslive Cup yet. Anyway,
didn't that take the sales out of a game a little bit too? Like, they played a pretty good hockey game, but it's kind of so sad that there's nothing there to feed off of that. Like, I don't know. This whole thing is getting tiresome for me. I don't know where you guys are at, but it's tough.
Is there a quick answer, Durs? Like, what do we do? We need to put a plan in place, right? So what's the first thing that happens? I said last night that if I was GM Dash, it would first thing I would do is send Koskinen down to the minors and call up Stuart Skinner and ride him. I think you need to know what you have in that goaltender before you can make any intelligent decisions about your goaltending moving forward. That's the first step for me. I don't know how you fix the 5-on-5 play. I don't know how you fix the effort and if it's culture, my God, then we've been talking about this for way too long, but I'm really interested. I was kind of wanting to go through this with you, buddy. What do you think?
So I liked what I saw tonight. I really did. I think Mike Smith is going to need probably a 10-game stretch to see if we've got Mike Smith of old, or I think it's unfair to have a guy sit out the amount of time he did, bring him in and think he's just going to bippity boppity boo everything. I think that's unrealistic. And, I don't think you can rely on Mikko to split duty. I think Skinner, you probably can. It's almost like you want to give Smith games to get him to get his game back. But if he gets hurt again, then, so I don't know. I don't know.
The only thing that scares me out of that is running Smith for 10 straight games. I mean, he can't even go 3 straight games at this point in time,
And I don't mean that. I just mean I think it's going to take him about a 10-game period before he either is in that groove where he is Mike Smith of last year that plays pretty good.
Yeah.
Or if you're into this, flip a coin and don't know what you're going to get kind of goaltending.
I don't even mind a 50-50 split for the rest of the year or something like that, but we need to know what we have in Skinner, and we'll find out down the stretch, because we put in ourselves a situation here where we're going to have to fight now towards the end of the season to make sure that we're still in a playoff spot.
You got
like it or not.
You got Ross on Facebook says Skinner I don't think is the answer yet, but Jesus, I mean, he sounds like a religious guy. Can it be any worse? So
yeah, I don't disagree. We said that last night too. We're not confident Skinner's the guy, but we're not going to know unless we try and find out.
Skinner hasn't, he's given them quality starts on most nights. He hasn't given up a lot of bad goals, and that's the Achilles heel right now, are the bad goals. The first goal on Smith, it's not a great goal, and it banks in off his skate. A little unlucky, but not a good goal. I wouldn't call that a good goal. You get rid of that, and you're in overtime, and you're collecting points, and maybe a win. And it's stuff like that they're not scoring enough to compensate for bad goals.
So you say that Skinner didn't have any, bad goals this year, and that he's played well, and I would absolutely agree with you. Yet when he's starting, they've still given up the first goal in 7 of 9. How do they put that to bed?
Well, yeah, they wake up for games against teams like Buffalo and Detroit, because those are the games I'm thinking of where he got kind of victimized with. I mean, some of that was on him too, but it just, I don't know. Like, I like the start tonight. I like the potential of the start in the last game. You must have heard me or Stoffer say start McDavid. You did that, and then Koskinen plays the puck into the 15th row right off the hop, and you're killing a penalty. You can't be killing a penalty in the first 5 minutes of a hockey game when you're in this kind of mess. You can't.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And we've given up the first goal in the first 2 minutes of the game 6 times. 13 out of 24. It's been in the first 5 minutes. Like 21 out of 22 out of 24 times it's been in the first period.
Yeah.
Like we're not even getting to the second period, man. And here's the thing is when we get the first goal, we're 10-0-1. When we get to the first period and we're behind, to the end of the first period and we're behind, we haven't won a game yet.
I'm at a point
Not one game where we've been behind after the first that we've won. It's a guaranteed lose.
I'm at a point now where it's almost irrelevant, though. Like you should be getting pretty good at it by now. You should be used to that position. There's still 55 minutes or 50 minutes of hockey left to play.
Hey, we came back. We came back tonight and then took the lead, right?
Yeah.
We just couldn't hold them off for 1 minute in the final period or in the first period.
We did that. We did that in New York a couple times too, but we're just developing another bad habit, not being able to hold leads.
Right.
This is the third period before. Now it's the second period.
Honestly, I think it rattles the fans more than it does the players.
Well, that's probably true. And you listen to Tippett's post-game comments, and he said, the fans are all up in arms and everybody's upset. But in our room, we know we're working hard, and we know that things are going to come to us. And speaking of post-game comments, I don't know if you guys caught Draisaitl's after the game, but he was asked directly about Tippett and whether he thought Tippett had lost the room. And I got to paraphrase a little bit. I was writing it down as I was kind of moving, but he said, we haven't, emphatically, I must say, we haven't let down anyone. We haven't let down us. We haven't let down our team. We haven't let down our goalies. We haven't let down anyone. So they haven't let down their coach. They haven't, the coach hasn't lost the team, according to Dry. What did you think when you heard that, Durs?
I believe he actually said lost instead of let down too. So
my bad. I noticed that after.
And that's important because people are throwing it out that the coach has lost the room, and him saying he hasn't lost us and in the goal, and our goalies haven't lost us. I appreciate that. And with the effort tonight, it kind of backs up the words so that it becomes valid. If you're gonna say that, but you don't have any effort on the ice, then they're not taking. For me, they're actually handling this streak better than I think a lot of athletes would, because you don't see a lot of undisciplined play. Like there's hardly any. You don't see them really angry about it. They're just trying to get out of it, and that's a different approach. I would appreciate anger and frustration and just dropping the gloves just cause, but they're trying to get out of it. And tonight they tried, and really the other goalie made that extra save and our goalie didn't. And that's it. And I'm not trying to throw Smith under the bus. I thought he played a pretty good game. It just, they got that one extra save.
What'd you guys think of the defense tonight?
Agreed.
I thought Lagesson played a hell of a game, right?
Cuckoo was awful.
Awful. Yeah. Lagesson, I thought, played well. I mean, I joked about it, but is this team better not having Barry or playing him less minutes than Tippett's playing him? Right? I mean, that's the because you put Bouchard, like we saw him QB that final, those final couple minutes tonight. We saw him almost pull a McDavid and go through, 2 or 3 Leafs players tonight. And I don't, I watch him play. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he kind of stick handles like he's got a block of wood in his hands, but he seems to manage to do it anyway. It's the long stick, but he does it. And, he's getting the puck to the net. He's doing all the things right. There's a reason he's got so many points this year, and he's not playing the key minutes that Barry's playing. So, but what's going to happen next when Barry's back, right?
I mean, Barry's just the next version of Marc-Andre Bergeron, is
Oh
he not?
man, please.
He's just a
No, I
power
mean I
play
agree with you. I just don't bring up the name.
power play specialist. Well, yeah, it
Yeah.
can take us all back. But,
Oh man.
let me drop the gloves here a little bit, you guys. Let me ask a bit of a tough question. I'll start with Durst, but I'd like to get your opinion on this too, Michael. You know, did we get blinded a little bit at the beginning of the year with McDavid and Draisaitl's names continually being mentioned with Gretzky and Lemieux and the good old days and putting up these record points to the point where we thought these guys were almost invincible, because Connor was -3 when he scored 2 goals the other night. Draisaitl was -2 on his own tonight. Is it time to start putting some blame on 97 and 29?
I'll take this first. I struggle with this because we talk about the toxicity of the fans all the time, and I think they're especially right now they're dealing with a lot. When this team's doing well, I mean we don't they get all the credit. I guess when they're doing poorly, maybe they should get some credit. I'll tell you that I personally think in he's got to be better defensively, McDavid. So does Draisaitl, right? Yep. Like I was thinking about this today, and this could be the thing, right? Like tonight, I thought the team played well. They played well without McDavid and without Nugent Hopkins. Mike, Dursa, I think you talked about it before, how well Tippett did with a band of misfits, a couple years in Arizona, right? I mean, is it possible that Tippett just doesn't know how to manage a couple of really good players and deal with them? Like, does he do maybe better with a little bit more of a balanced lineup, right? I mean, it's just a thought, and I mean, it speaks to nights like tonight. It speaks to the inability to seemingly get McDavid to be a really great sort of all-around player, right? Like I think Crosby, for instance. I mean, that's a guy that played both ends of the ice as well or better than anybody, right? And if there's guys in this league that you don't expect them to be good defensively that do reasonably well, but I don't think McDavid and Draisaitl are. Draisaitl, I think, has his moments because of his ability to pick a puck out of the air, but I just McDavid's not great, right? Like when they're going down 3-on-3 and McDavid's one of the guys there, I'm not as hopeful as I would be if it was somebody else.
Look, Michael, both of these guys are lead by example type of leaders. And in my opinion, like I'm looking back at my game notes here, and I even don't have to go too far back to go. I made a note on the Devils game that Draisaitl was slow on the back check in overtime. He lost the key face-off in overtime. 97 screened the goalie on the game-winning goal. He was -3 with 2 goals. In the next game against the Islanders, McDavid looked tired or unenthused on both the Anders Lee and the overtime goal. If our best players need to lead by example, I'm not confident they're doing the best job of it they could lately. What do you think, Durs?
I just kind of go on what you were asking before because it's still in my head. What I saw tonight was a team that played a loose game, and I don't mean like casual, but they weren't squeezing their sticks. It was like the pressure had been lifted. And maybe Connor being out of that lineup tonight, instead of everybody deferring to him and waiting for him to do it all, they knew they had to do it themselves. And it totally changed the mindset, and it had a better flow to it, honestly. And once they got across the blue line, they were actually getting pucks on net. It wasn't just a turnover at the blue line or a chip behind the net and then give up because that's good enough. We'll just go off. And Connor will come out and he'll do it for us. They played more of a team game tonight. And I'm not saying, Connor's a selfish player, but everybody else had to step up. It was next man up tonight, and I don't think the credit for that goes to Tippett, and I don't think the credit for that goes to Connor being, on the shelf. I think that's just, the nature of how they kind of been, accustomed to in their own head that we got to give the puck to Connor and watch Connor play. A lot of times they don't play with him. They're watching him play. And it's a different game that way. And when it comes to him defensively and Draisaitl defensively, McDavid at times can look like Pavel Datsyuk. He'll come back, he'll stick check a guy. But is that every time? And does he have the capacity to do that every time? I think he does. I think part of the problem is we extend shifts with him and Draisaitl. You keep them out there longer. They're getting exposed later in the shift. I'd like to know when these goals are scored on their shift. I don't think it's 30 seconds in or 45. I think it's when your shifts go beyond 45 seconds to that minute and beyond. Yeah. When you're gassed, you don't have the energy to get back. And I mean, I know that's the case in overtime. I know it. Mm-hmm. Ryan Reeves doesn't take the puck from Connor McDavid, in his own end ever, unless he's out of gas. Yeah, he can wheel around the whole Ranger team, let alone Ryan Reeves.
Yeah, great points.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. Those are great points. And I think that's a really interesting point when you talk about, McDavid not being in the lineup and having to do the next man up mentality. And, I told Josh and Michael on Michael's show last night that they were crazy and out of their minds for kind of alluding to this exact same thing, really, because you guys mentioned that this might be exactly what the team needs. I knew what you meant. It just sounded crazy coming out of your mouth to say that it's exactly what the team needs is to have McDavid not playing. So, joke taken. But you were onto something, and clearly Durst is here too. So does that then, and guys, I just want to give credit where it's due, and I want to give criticism where it's due. I'm just trying to be fair. I'm not trying to create any type of negativity, and I'm not even necessarily upset with Dry or McDavid. I just think it's fair to ask the question. And, Durst, where are you at on their leadership over the last, 13 games? Have they done it enough? It's okay to say, yeah. I'm curious what you think, man.
I don't know if I can really answer that with anything that means anything because I'm not in that dressing room. I don't know what
You're seeing the product on the ice. What do you see on the ice then? Is there body language issues? Is there enough hustle? Is there enough back check? Look, you said Tippett likes to ride his horses. Is that the issue? You can take that out. If they're just always tired, then, I'm curious what you think.
Yeah. I don't know. You hear from the MSG crowd that in the game in New York, the broadcast team there was saying they were slamming doors and banging sticks and just swearing on the bench. Mm-hmm. But that didn't translate to the play on the ice. I didn't see the frustration on the ice in their game.
Yeah, good point.
And to me, like if you're pissed off and you just can't stand this losing streak and whatever, it's not going to stay just on the bench, or in the room. It's going to come on the ice. And right. I'm not seeing that. So it's hard to answer your question, honestly, because I'm not in the dressing room. I don't know what the hell's being said in there, but I'm watching their play and I don't see a frustrated team, with their play. There's not, like I say, there's not the undisciplined penalties. There's not scrums after every whistle. There's hardly any. I don't remember the last one, really. There isn't bone crunching checks, from guys running around like Jordan Tutu. So I don't see like undisciplinedness.
But you know what else there isn't?
I think
there's no driving to the net. There's no traffic. There's no aggression. There's like
right. And that bothers me. And I'm not sure like McDavid and Draisaitl and Nurse, that's the core and Nuge, but he's not here. That's your core leaders. If you want to add Mike Smith to that, I don't right now because he hasn't been around enough for me to really have a voice that, translates to everybody else in that dressing room. But those guys are your core. That's your leaders. But if any one of them, is in the penalty box for being undisciplined, this team's screwed. So I kind of understand that on the ice product, but I don't know what goes on in that room. I don't know what Connor says. I don't know what Leon says. I don't know what Duncan Keith says. Everybody's saying, well, he's the vocal leader right now. He's taken over a leadership role. He's really stepped that up in the last few games. Okay, great. What does that mean on the ice? What does that mean on the ice?
Losses.
Well, you can say
we paid for.
Right. You can say whatever you want in the room, but you got to do it on the ice.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you have to be a good hockey player.
So Josh asks, he says, were you guys happy with this game compared to the last 10 games, or were you also happy compared to where these players from tonight need to be to, say, reach a conference final?
Yes. No.
That, to me, in this, what are we at, 11 game skid for Tippett, throw out the 2 wins in that stretch, in our last what are we at, 13 games.
Mm-hmm.
To me, in the 11 game losses under Tippett, tonight was the best effort as a team. I'll say that. Does this team get to the conference final playing that way with Connor McDavid? I still don't think the goaltending is going to do it.
But this team's not good enough right now. Like, it doesn't matter how they play; they're just not good enough right now. We didn't have the level of competition that we had early on. If we were playing the bottom 16 teams in the playoffs, which we're not, then we'd be all right. I think we could go the distance because we're the best of the worst right now, right?
Who is out for Toronto tonight? Yeah. Who are they missing?
They weren't missing a lot. I mean, they had Tavares, they had Nylander, they had Marner, they had Matthews, they had Campbell,
they had the big four, yeah.
They had Brody, they had Riley. Yeah, they had everybody.
It's a little bit of pie in the sky, but I mean, if you add Nuge and you add McDavid in there.
It's a different game if the guys play the same. I'm
right.
not convinced they do. But
if everybody else brings that same effort and you add McDavid and Nuge, I think we probably get a power play goal tonight at least, and it's a bit of a different game.
Yeah, I think and Josh hinted at this yesterday when he's coached some junior. Is that you roll the guys that are playing right in a game. And he said, what kind of message does it send to the team if in overtime, the guys that got you to overtime aren't, given any opportunity to play, right? And so, they're not deferring to McDavid so much. They just know that whatever they do, everybody else is going to defer. Like the coaching staff is going to defer to McDavid. Right? That's what's going to happen. So, these guys aren't a part of the team. They're there to support McDavid and Draisaitl and how they move the game, right? And so if they're not moving the game, then, those guys, that's the mentality that they've been provided in my mind, right? And that's got to change. Nights like tonight where they got to go out there and prove that they're NHL caliber players. A guy like Perlini drives to the net. Right? In the preseason, it's no surprise he's scoring because there's no McDavid playing preseason, right?
Yeah.
These guys, they step up. I thought Benson, we could have seen him more tonight. We didn't get a chance to, right?
For sure.
But Bouchard, I can't believe just how good Bouchard is.
I thought McLeod had another good game,
McLeod, too, other than the pass on the open net. But I mean, shit.
His first period though, he was dangerous, and then just not put out there in big situations anymore. I don't get it. Pugliarvi, I hope the guy's hurt or something because there's no excuse for get him some time to get his get him that confidence going again.
Oh, he's got a wicked shot, doesn't he? That shot. I mean, man, I tell you,
Cassian, putting his head down and pounding a clapper into the middle of Campbell, that bought him overtime time. Is that what did it? Because I didn't see a lot from Zach either. It's nice to see him out there again, but I didn't see a lot from him.
No, he had a couple hits tonight. I'll give him that. Right? He tried to throw the body around, but the Zach Cassian, whatever you want to call it, experiment or whichever. He's not the right guy, right? He's not, he's not a Ryan Reeves, right?
No,
Like,
no.
I mean,
No.
he doesn't even. I think Cassian's problem, if you ask me, is that he still gets out there sometimes and thinks he's a player, right? You know what I mean? Like he thinks he's going to be, playing with the Sedins again or on Connor McDavid's wing, right? Like he doesn't
That's what
understand.
got him his contract.
But he doesn't understand the role this team needs him for. And
He's not a good checker, though. You can't. Why put him in that role when you're not a good? His defensive IQ isn't good. He's not a good positional defensive player.
Yeah, he's not.
Honestly better for us on a top line because he's when he's on the ice 5-on-5, our shot differential is awful.
Then take him out totally because
I'm okay with him thinking he can play offensively, but when there's a hit there to be made, make the hit. Be a physical guy, bring that too. You can be a power forward. There's nothing against it.
You talk about Barry being a power play specialist. Maybe we should have Cassian as just like a first shift specialist. Like he just puts all of his effort for the entire game into that first shift. Just cleanly lays out 5 guys.
Fine.
Let's see that. That's better than being out.
All we really need is 6 of those a game.
Yeah, I'd like to see some research on who's started, our starting lineups and kind of like what percentage of the players that have been on there. Because, like you say, when you got that many goals that are in the first 2 minutes of the game and that many, and I think 15 of 24 were in the first 5 minutes. Like that's nuts.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's mental partly, right? I mean, that's, you're waiting for the, for it to drop and hey, I mean, it just, this break is so needed for this team.
Wow. I mean, look, after 21 games, we were 16-5 with a 761 winning percentage. In the last 13 since then, we've had a 133 winning percentage, boys. Like that swing is like, that's Wile E. Coyote off the mountain with nothing but death below, man. It's a big swing in a big valley. So we got a lot of work to get out of it. And hopefully this time off will do that for us.
Next stretch is going to be weird. Like man, I don't know what's going to go on here. Like to me, they should be rescheduling the game that they missed on the 27th against the Flames and do stuff like that. Like make up some games.
Yeah.
Like, how do they sit and then try to get, like, they're going to be moving into, it's like you're stepping onto the tracks when a train's going to smash you. Like other teams all the American teams are going to keep going business as usual. And then what, like, I don't know.
Well, Tommy Gazzola said in the postgame show that the entire radio team and everybody that's in protocol has to stay in Toronto. They're not sending the medevac plane to get them home. So they're all they're stuck in Toronto. So you can't play Calgary when you're there.
But is that like, I don't even know how it works. Like where are Jack Michaels and Stoffer right now? Because didn't they, I think they went into COVID themselves in Pittsburgh, and I mean Stoffer's still doing his show every day, but
they might be at
are they in Toronto or they're in a hotel in Pittsburgh? What
I can tell you that it depends on the state, but a lot of them will put them in a quarantine hotel for 10 days. So that's quite
I think
possible.
it's 5 now. I think it's 5 now.
Might be 5.
CDC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at a point where we've got some time to work on it and see what we can do. I don't know what your guys' prediction are. I guess we got Ottawa coming up in a game and then another bit of a break. We're probably getting close to coming up on the hour. Any listener text in that we want to address there, Michael?
Yeah, there's the usual.
My boy Shannon.
Shannon's
probably wants to agree with me on something.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. He brings up 97 and 29 just don't go in the trenches like Waite and Smitty did. And and it's funny because I was wondering if Smitty would maybe sign a contract with the Oilers, get a little bit of that grease in there. Yes, more points, sure, but as the two top players, they don't show the grit Waite and Smith had. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right, boys. Epiphany, who is on YouTube, a lot of comments here. None of them very happy, but I'll read them anyway. Right now, I'm not even sure they're a good AHL team caliber. I mean, it's pretty bad. Reminder, this must have been when I was talking about Bouchard. Reminder, Bouchard took the tripping penalty in the third that Toronto pulled ahead 3-2 with. It wasn't a clean sheet. And then why stop at 5 if the goalie is out of the blue paint? Help him eat the glass or the ice and take him out too. Yeah,
That's Cassian on his first shift.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing. Like, this team needs some grit. You guys talked about it. We talked about it the other day. Culture, identity, whatever you want to call it, the brand of hockey. Yeah. Like, if you take a penalty, right? Like, do slash punch, take somebody with you, right? Like
stinky mitts.
Yeah, like make people mad at you. I mean, I don't know who said it today in our group chat, but it felt, a little bit like everybody was having a happy game tonight, right? Like there wasn't a lot of anything both ways, and the Maple Leafs have too much skill on that team to be letting them just, fly around without getting hit, right? Like hockey's a tough sport. Make it tough,
Yeah.
This is this team just doesn't you got guys that can win some board battles like Yamo. I'm always amazed at how he does it, but he does it. But you don't have guys coming in and late into the scrum and knocking anybody down, or guys driving to the net. I mean, the fact that we went 2 full games without even touching a goalie, right, is gross in this league. Right? There are guys that don't go through a whole shift without touching the goalie, right? Like they, every shift, and our least favorite guy, Matthew Tkachuk, like if the goalie's holding on to the puck at the end of the whistle, he goes in there and gives him a little bit, it's nothing big, but it's a little tap. Just enough to get everybody to punch him and shove him around, right? And he draws, as many penalties as McDavid, and it drives us nuts. Right?
Gets teams off their games.
We're too content after a goalie makes a save to just
we're go too to the content all the time. We're soft. Yeah. We're a soft team.
We built a bottom 6 of good penalty killers, and I don't think you need to do that. I think you need a little bit of muddy players in that bottom 6, and Marcus Niemelainen to get healthy to be on your back end. So at least you've got him and Nurse that can bring a little bit of pain. Bouchard doesn't really have that. Cuckoo doesn't have that. Lagesson doesn't have that. Keith has it a little bit. Cece's a fairly big guy, but he doesn't really bring a lot of pain.
No.
Need a little nasty. Yeah, I agree with you.
Who's been our nastiest player? Connor McDavid, right? Like he's, and we don't want him to be our nastiest player, because typically if he's the nasty guy, that's because nobody's been sticking up for him all night. Yamamoto stuck up for him the other night. That's all that's all you need.
And
to
Trouba laughed in his face.
Yeah.
Well, what you're saying, Michael, kind of alludes to exactly what Dursa was pointing out there. If there's emotion on the bench, according to the New York broadcaster on the MSN team, and they're banging sticks and kicking, but you don't see that equated on the ice. And that's what he said, right? Like and maybe this all ties back to what I said about our leadership team, right? And you guys talked about the guys that are on the long-term contracts, and the core of this team being McDavid and Draisaitl and Nugent and Nurse. And the first 3 names I said are quiet leaders. And the 4th guy can't afford to be in the penalty box.
100%.
And maybe that's an issue. So you load the bottom 6 with guys that are good at penalty killing and playing 4-on-5, but it's still a big problem if they can't play 5-on-5. Hockey's a 5-on-5 sport, and our bottom 6 has been awful at it for a long time.
Now you're getting back to the part I didn't really want to get into, because I think we beat it all to death, but I think that's an issue with Dave Tippett. I think he creates great special teams, but the 5-on-5 play is a question mark.
Yeah, I can't argue that. That's fair.
Part of it goes to roster construction too, but
Yeah.
Look, you know what? I throw up every day when I'm listening to NHL radio, and they talk about other teams, and they're playing a Sullivan brand of hockey. They're playing a Boudreaux Trotz style of hockey. They're playing
Sutter.
Sutter, whatever. When they talk about other teams, they talk about the coach and the brand of hockey. They don't do that in Edmonton. And now they are. They are now, I'll tell you that. Everybody's talking about it now. That was the whole intermission.
Right? When they signed Dave Tippett, what style of hockey were you expecting?
I mean, everybody was worried about defensive hockey. And that goes to my point, though, that maybe he's just not – maybe he just doesn't know what to do with these guys, right? Maybe he doesn't know how to coach a McDavid and a Draisaitl. Right? Like he
knows how to coach them on special teams. He's proved that. And he's proved in the past that he's a good special teams coach. So he's put that together. Yeah. He just hasn't figured out how to use those two players 5-on-5, nor the rest of the team.
Right. And you would think, he's coming from Arizona and he brought, them to be a team that didn't really give up a lot. If we were a team that didn't give up a lot, I think we might be in better shape. Most nights we're giving up more shots than we're getting, and we aren't like a defensive stalwart team, so maybe, I don't know. I was thinking the other day, I was almost thinking, what if there's a mixture, a little bit of Craig McTavish kind of ingenuity when he got, Pronger and those guys that year to play a trap against Detroit and go away from high flying, high octane hockey, that maybe we might be in a bit better shape. But we don't even have the high octane, high flying hockey right now. Like a lot of nights we're disorganized once we get across the blue line. So our offense is I don't know. Tonight I thought it was better, but they weren't doing the cute little drop passes here and there. They were going ahead. And to me it was better.
They played a solid game tonight, I thought. Not good enough to win though. Solid's not good enough right now.
No,
but they.
I'll take solid though when they've got a full lineup.
Yeah. And they never. You know what they. And I said it last night. This is not their. It wasn't their game to win. They're not Toronto caliber right now. As much as we hate it, but they're not. That's not Ranger caliber.
And you know what? I'll say this before we do whatever we're going to do tonight, but. I think McDavid being out kind of gave Tippett more of a stay of execution, kind of builds in an excuse for the loss. Not that they used it, but you know what I mean? Like you've got Connor and you drop it. I think it looks worse than not having it and dropping it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, what's wrong with Nuge, by the way? Do we know?
I think I heard today it's not going to be quick. Like he's another 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, like it might be his shoulder again.
Well,
which would suck.
He's on IR, I guess. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
A couple weeks. Well.
They missed him a lot on the power play. He controlled a lot of what goes on the power play. His little stall moves and that really changes the dynamic on there. They miss Connor obviously for zone entries and that, but I think they really miss Nuge for the way he kind of controls things.
Yeah, those little shifty moves. Yeah, it gives the defenseman time on the blue line too.
It's almost like a little bit of Hemsky and Wait in his game, how he kind of stalls and waits for things to happen and makes the little plays here and there.
He draws players towards him and gives his other guys space.
Go back to 2D, have Bouchard and Barry in there. Like Barry, Barry's not a bad player. He's a power play specialist. I give him a hard time because I think Bouchard should be out there, but I'd be all right with having the two of them out there.
Whatever you do, take Turris off. Maybe try JP on that left side there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, gentlemen, we've probably banged enough off the crossbar for one episode of Straight Off the Pipe. I'm going to give Michael any last words if you want. And then, of course, I'll let Dursa close off as he always does. But I wouldn't mind a couple minutes just in between.
Yeah, I don't have much to say that, we haven't said or talked about. I'm still I'm firmly on this need to, as you guys know, I'm on this need to change up the coaching. I know Draisaitl, said they haven't quit on him yet, but they need something. And frankly, 10-1 start doesn't mean a whole lot when you're, 133 win percentage after that, right? And so we're falling fast, and the rest of the teams are catching up. And as soon as this team's on the outside looking in, I mean, watch out. I mean, that's when it gets ugly, right? Doesn't just get ugly on the ice, but it gets ugly off the ice. You got guys talking to their agents and asking what the hell's going on, right? And we don't need it to get there. Something's got to be done. I had flashbacks of the organization bringing coffee in for consulting on defense tonight when I saw him up there with Holland. My biggest concern would be just something really, really stupid in terms of who to bring in if they do let go of Tippett. But hey, this break's well needed. Ottawa's well needed. Hopefully we get Connor back sooner than later, and let's hope Nuge isn't hurt too poorly. That's it for me.
Prediction versus Ottawa, Michael?
I think the Oilers will win a game here. I think they'll score first, and they might score often.
I'll come back to you, Durst, but quick prediction.
Let's say 5-1 Edmonton.
5-1 Edmonton. Durst, I'll come back to you for the close, but quick prediction, score.
What's that game?
Monday
night. So we are Wednesday. So they get almost a week between games. Yeah. Connor should be back in the lineup if this 5-day thing holds true here. So I think that'll make a bit of a difference. And I think, tonight being away from him might have taught them something about themselves, that they're not, they're not as bad as what the skid kind of feels like, I think it was a valiant effort tonight. So yeah, I mean, Ottawa at some point is going to break out of this and beat us, but yeah, maybe that isn't the night, and we do get another win. I'll say, if I have to pick a score, I'll go 4-2.
All right, I'm going to say statement game 7-2 Oilers. Thanks for giving me a couple minutes before you close. I just wanted to use this platform a little bit to make a big heavy hockey announcement. I'd just like to congratulate Michael Hubert on being chosen for the extended Olympic team and being on the long list for Team Canada. Go, Michael. Hebert and Dubnyk at the Olympics. You heard it here first. And that's it for another edition of Straight Off the Pipe. What do you got, Durs?
Well, there's been like a black cloud hanging over here for a while. And I was kind of the opinion that all things being equal, tonight might have lifted that. And as shitty as COVID is, I think that tonight, Connor being out of the lineup brought me down to earth a little bit, because I don't think after tonight Dave's gonna lose his job. I think he's gonna hang on to that for a little while longer. And seeing the play on the ice, I saw a team that tried to win a hockey game. It didn't look like a team that had quit and given up. And I can take that, and Mike Smith comes in and wasn't stellar. He wasn't lights out by any stretch of the matter, but he was good. He played a good game. And the season that this has been, I'll take a good game from a goalie as something to build on. I think he he can start to find his game and round into form. And I just hope he doesn't get hurt again. That's a big if. And yeah, I agree with you. I would get on the phone and get Skinner up. I think they wanted to give him a bunch of games here against Abbotsford in the AHL. There's a big series between the Condors and Abbotsford. So they wanted to get him lots of games there. But I would bring him back and figure out what you need to do with Mikko, or whatever you can do with Mikko. And, if you can't bring in that stud goalie that, is going to win playoff games no matter what the team in front of them does, then maybe you don't worry about that right now. And you try to fill some other parts of your roster and strengthen that. I don't know. I'm still torn with Tippett. Like, I'd like to see the guy get another playoff series and see if he can win a round before I make a ultimate decision in my head. But I was worried that wasn't going to happen. I think if they bring the same kind of game like they did tonight, and they have all their weapons, they'll be in good shape and they'll be a playoff team. And who knows? Hopefully, in this time too, Holland might be able to do something to, you guys were talking last night on Michael's show, and Dash, you were talking about a basement where you've got all these problems. Well, when you got all these problems in a basement, the way to fix it is you got to start somewhere. You got to patch one thing and then the next and then the next. You can't patch everything all at once. So you have to pick a starting spot and go from there. And
you call Mike Dursa at Spirit River Flooring.
That's what, Holland needs to do that. Tippett needs to do that. And the team needs to do that. It needs to be a collective effort. If that starts happening, then this season, lots of people want to write off the season. Well, there's still lots of runway left in the season, but you have to start somewhere. You have to start patching the holes somewhere. And, you can believe that that's never going to happen and whatever. You can choose to be pessimistic. I don't want to live that way myself. And, for me, if the Edmonton Oilers don't make the playoffs, they're in the running for Shane Wright. What could I do to control that? Nothing. So I don't lose tons of sleep over how they play. I just want to see them succeed because it's more fun. I think that's pretty much everything in my head. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Hebert. Dash, as always. Oil Country, we'll see you in a few days. We are not going to go on this Sunday. We went tonight instead because I think we wanted to. Well, we could talk about tonight's game before
strike while that fire behind you is hot.
That's right. So like we say all the time, keep your sticks on the ice, keep reaching for the stars, and hopefully we're talking about a win after the Sens. Good night, everybody. Check into YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, subscribe to the Heavy Hockey Network, and good night.
Oilers go.
Bunch of beauties there.
Bunch of beauties.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Closing the stream.
Beauty with the headset there. That's Air